but was actually instigated by the president. You see, hostilities were shown to the Japanese to instigate this attack so that we would be forced into World War II. False flag attacks are still being used today to further the military-industrial complex and to further the agenda of the elites and to keep the people in fear of invisible enemies. They are also used to demonize groups that oppose the New World Order and to further erode civil liberties. This was the point on Monday morning while preparing. This was the point. Monday morning, okay, when I was preparing this particular section. As you know, last week I announced that we would be discussing some false flag attacks in my rant. And Monday morning I was working on some of this. Sunday night and into Monday morning I was working on some of this. I didn't know, I was preparing this material for the show, and I said eventually that I didn't know when, but a false flag attack would be carried out and blamed on the Patriot movement. Now don't freak out, I'm not definitively saying that the Boston attack was a false flag attack. We don't know yet. Apparently they have somebody in custody. It is, however, sad that we have seen so much discrepancy in prior attacks that we have to question events like this. Did you ever find the audio for the mainstream media? I was listening Monday evening to NPR, and they had a, because again I like to listen to all media, all talk shows, just to get a grasp for what they're talking about. They had an expert on, and or a correspondent on, who was there at the Boston Massacre, at the Boston bombing, excuse me. And she came right out and said, we have to keep in mind the right-wing extremists that the FBI have been warning us about that would attack us. We talked about that a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, I mean, that the FBI was warning about right-wing extremism. We also mentioned that the West Point released a report talking about right-wing extremism being dangerous and potentially could lead to a domestic terrorist attack. Now, let's play the video here that we have of the media blaming
Peter Bergen. Peter, does this, obviously we don't want to speculate, we don't know what this was, but is there reason for people who deal in counterterrorism to think that this is an act of terrorism, or suspect it strongly at least?
Sure, although I'm reminded of Oklahoma City, which was a bombing, which was initially treated as a gas explosion, so first reports were often erroneous.
Right.
You know, the fact that there were two explosions and two bombings, and one of the things I've been looking at is that once the device, the different device is tracked, what kind of explosives were used? So for instance, if it was hydrogen peroxide, this is sort of a signature of Al-Qaeda. If it was more conventional explosives, which are much harder to get hold of now, that might be some other kind of right-wing extremists. And we've seen a number of failed bombing attacks by Al-Qaeda using bombs, magical as Izine, for instance, Manhattan subway 2009, Fazl Shazad in Times Square 2010, the attempt to bring down the Northwest Flight 253 over Detroit in 2009. But we've also seen other extremist groups, right-wing groups, attacking, for instance, the trying to attack the Martin Luther King parade in Oregon in 2010. So
Islamic radicals, but people homegrown extremists who was attacked in the past war.
Indeed, but of course the Oklahoma bomb, of course, which was attributed initially to Islamic terrorists, and turned out to be overthrown.
Yes, exactly. And there's reports of that happened, although I'm not going to say it because I just had time to check it out, but that happened also on Patriot Day, which is today, the first Monday in the year. So that might have a special significance. And we know.
I apologize for the volume there on that one. That one was not so great. I was trying to get the wrong one there. There you have it. I mean, they just jump to conclusions. We don't want to speculate, but let's speculate. Many still believe that Timothy McVeigh, the man just mentioned by the BBC, he still believed that he was a right-wing lone wolf extremist who blew up the Oklahoma City building on Patriots Day because of his dissatisfaction with our government. However, those closest to the event, well, they told a completely different story of the events unfolding that day. Congressman Charles Key presented evidence that there was more people involved in the bombing. The Justice Department conducted an investigation and deemed that John Doe did not exist, even though there were eyewitnesses and explosives were found in the AP Mara building in downtown Oklahoma, according to Governor Frank Keating in a news interview. Members of ATF reported being tipped off to the incident 2 hours prior to it, when they all received pages on their pagers telling them not to come into work that day. Bomb squad vehicles were also witnessed in front of the building prior to the explosion. McVeigh wrote a letter to his sister, which was printed in the New York Times, that said that he was, and I quote, recruited by the CIA to help fly drugs into the U.S., and that they were trained as government-paid assassins. This, of course, was brushed off as the disillusioned rants of a madman, until a film of McVeigh surfaced later of him at Camp Grafton, military training center in North Carolina. McVeigh was just discharged from the Army Reserve over a year prior. The most disturbing thing was that Grafton was training soldiers in explosives at the time of filming. Security tapes that had reportedly caught the entire incident on video were promptly rounded up by the feds and classified. They were finally released to the public in 2009, yet not one of them caught the actual explosion. Sorry about that. They were released to the public in 2009, yet not one of them caught the actual explosion. The excuse? The tapes were all being changed out at the same time. The event was deemed right-wing domestic terrorism and used to demonize critics of one world government, militias, and used as a scare tactic to keep the general population in fear and suspicious of their neighbors and anyone else with a right-wing opinion who was dissatisfied with our country and where it was headed and how it was being shaped. Well, that is where I'm going to end today. Certainly tune in next week because we're going to continue in part 3 of this important series where we will further discuss false flag attacks. And we'll talk about some of the strategies the globalists are using to further their agenda of a new world order. You were listening to the People's Message on 105.9 The Radiator, WOMMLP, Burlington, Vermont's community station. One thing I love about 105.9 is the fact that it is a community station. It provides Burlington with a feel you cannot get anywhere else on the dial. We here at the Radiator are a part of and care about the community here in Burlington. No one on this station gets paid to be here. It is solely by choice that we here at the People's Message volunteer our time to present to you information not readily available in the mainstream mass media. So rest assured that we do not represent any corporate interest or sponsor and have no reason to lie to you about the topics of discussion we choose to talk about, nor the information we present. The views that are expressed are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of WOMMLP, its management board, or any of its affiliates. We, in fact, encourage our listeners to be proactive when it comes to being informed. Do your own research. Follow up with the topics we discuss after the show for your own peace of mind and knowing, because an informed people are empowered people. Empowered people are motivated people, and motivated people affect real, lasting change. Well, let's talk about some current events a little early before Phil Carlton gets on the horn here with us. I'm not sure if he's going to be calling or showing up here at the station. Last week we had a problem with communication, and Phil didn't call into the show. But this week I texted him and we got that all straightened out. Hopefully he'll give us a buzz. I haven't heard from him yet, but he should be down in Montpelier, finding out what's going on. Phil Carlton is our Montpelier correspondent, and we talk about what's happening in Montpelier. But and that's very important, I think, to talk about what's going on in Montpelier. I think it's very important that we get involved with our local laws and local government. So, Adam, what do we got right now that's breaking news?
The only breaking news going on right now is the fact that they made an arrest. I can't seem to find a name, which they probably haven't released yet. But basically, what's happening is that they have made an arrest. We don't know who. We don't know if this was just a lone person or a member of a group. I don't see anything being talked about as far as if he was an American or if he came here from another country. But somebody was arrested. That's what they say.
And now you have CNN saying no arrest in Boston.
Well, is
that old?
This, I don't know.
Reports differ on custody. Is that the?
This is why I tend to get my news from foreign media as opposed to our media, because they're horrible.
It's hard.
CNN's actually reporting that there was confusion over the reports of an arrest being made in connection with the Boston bombings. This article was from today, about 2:46 p.m. Eastern time, so not too long ago.
A little over an hour ago.
But yeah, I don't. Other than that, I'm not really sure, man. I would say that we'll have to keep waiting for that one to develop a little bit.
Let's jump over to Fox and see if Fox said something about it.
Oh, they did. Fox was the first one to report it.
Right.
Fox is saying that a law enforcement source has told FoxNews.com that an arrest made in the Boston Marathon bombing. So, I mean, if you want to...
You're getting conflicting reports, ladies and gentlemen. We urge you to get on the horn or get on the internet and find out for yourselves. We don't have a television in here, so we don't know what's going on live on TV, but certainly worth.
And according to NBCNews.com, the FBI is seeking a man that was seen with a bag near the blast.
There's how many millions of people that were there?
Yeah,
there's like 1 million people there at this thing, and I'm sure half of them were probably holding bags, and 2/3 of them were men. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, CBS, Fox News, for all your hard work in confusing the holy crud out of everyone.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's really hard to try to find news when news sites are constantly jumping to conclusions about one thing or another, and then obviously they're in competition with one another.
Absolutely. One thing that I did read, I got an email from the Vermont Right to Know GMO group that's pushing the Vermont Right to Know bill, lobbyists, that it's going to discussion in Montpelier. Finally, it's made it through to where it needs to go, and there will be a vote, or at least a debate. So we'll find out soon. Go ahead, do what
I'm hesitant to bring this up, but I mean, if anybody feels so inclined, Infowars.com has a pretty good article. It's titled "Boston Bombing Culprit Identified?" Question mark. So they're asking the question, but it basically, what it has in this article is a whole bunch of pictures of different suspects. Basically, what they have is pictures of what the bag that they believe the bomb was put into, and then what they have is different pictures of potential suspects carrying what appears to be the same bag that may have contained the bomb. But it's actually quite interesting to look and see some of the different videos and still shots from security cameras. There's several pictures of different men talking on cell phones, carrying what appear to be pretty heavy-duty bags.
And one thing about the pictures is that they're actually people who are they appear to be wearing combat boots, which is pretty rare when you're just out hanging out. I mean, Adam has combat boots at home, and I don't see him walking around town with them.
No, but some people do.
Some people do, and it's just speculation, folks. All of this is speculation, from Infowars.com to CNN.com. It's all speculation at this point. So, take it with a grain of salt. Take what we say with a grain of salt when it comes to this issue, because we don't know any more than you do. And we're looking at the same sources of information that you are, sources that we all know are corrupt, which we have established in previous shows and in today. So, moving on from the Boston thing, it's a sad situation over there, and like I said, our hearts and prayers go out to all the victims and their families. So,
what'd you think, Steve, of the reports that came out of Boston indicating that law enforcement personnel or city officials of some degree or another had shut off cell phone service to the city immediately following the disaster? I mean, they cited...
And then the media... Well, I mean, the bomb squads came out and said that it's generally... that is generally done after a bombing like that because some bombs are set off via cell phone. And they generally do that now, this is something fairly new that they just started doing within the last few years.
Well, here's what I want to narrow it down to. Is that the Boston officials said that they shut the cell phones off. Local media, as well as national media, contacted AT&T and Verizon specifically to ask them if they had received a request to shut off the cell service to the city.
Right.
They had received no service or no request from the city to shut off the cell phone service. Yeah. So who did? Now I understand that during the emergency, during especially initially following it, a lot of people are going to jam those cell phone towers. I don't know how many callers can call through one cell phone tower at a time, but I imagine that at that point people were calling friends, people were calling family, checking up on them.
Overloading the circuits.
Right. But the city of Boston, the officials that spoke to the media, said that they shut off the towers. So it wasn't an overload in the system. It was actually shut off. That's what they said. But again, the cell phone company said that they received no request.
Honestly,
so
you gotta check.
Do they
check the sources and
but
the
do they
other
have
part of it?
does the city of Boston or Homeland Security or I don't know any local agency or any state agency have the ability to jam cell phone signals at will?
Well, we do know that the military has the capabilities of doing so, and the military were on scene.
I guess, that's the only thing that I can any conclusion that I can come to is that it had to have been the military, it had to have been the government in some capacity, and maybe it was the NSA, for all I know.
Yeah, like I said, it's all speculation, and we can't, there's just no, there's no evidence. We have no evidence. They haven't released any evidence to us, and again, you got to check your sources on the information that you get. Look at who they are. You know, if you have an opinion, if you want to call in and talk about this, if you just want to vent, get it off your chest, if you were there, whatever, give us a call here at the Radiator Studios. Our phone number is 861-WOMM. That's 802-861-9666. We're on Facebook as well, the People's Message community page. You can load us up on Facebook, leave us a comment, you know, and we'll try to get back to you. We're on Twitter as well at the People's MSG, People's Message /twitter.com. Check us out. Follow us.
Not to interrupt, but going back to this arrest that they say was made. Fox News is now saying Boston police and the FBI say no arrest in bomb case amid conflicting reports.
And this is what they do. This serves to further confuse the populace so that we don't know what's going on, so that, you know, it's mass confusion. It's mass confusion for everyone, and it's useless. It's really, really useless. And again, if you'd like to call in, if you'd like to make a comment on anything at this point, we're just kind of buying some time right now until we either get a phone call from Phil or Phil comes in, our Montpelier correspondent. Our phone number is 802-861-WOMM. That's 802-861-9666. The views expressed are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of WOMMLP, its management board, or any of its affiliates. My name is Steve Hutchinson. I am your humble host for the next, well, we got another 2 hours left. And you are listening to 105.9 The Radiator, WOMMLP, and this program is called The People's Message. Again, it's hard to say what's going on with the Boston incident. In further news, though, a representative, was it a representative? A senator was sent a letter containing ricin.
Mississippi senator, I believe.
A Mississippi senator, yeah. Can you find his name somewhere? I forget his name. But also, breaking news, President Obama was also sent a letter containing ricin.
This is pretty reminiscent of post 9/11 atmosphere when they were sending anthrax around.
Yeah, makes you wonder.
I don't really see the point. Like, why would anybody want to send ricin?
Why would anyone want to bomb the Boston Marathon?
No, I know. I understand that.
What is the goal here? We don't know.
In the sense that, you know, I mean, if you're a crazy person, you're trying to hurt people, that was a successful bomb. You know, there was obviously in that person's mind a point to what they were doing, but this ricin thing. I mean, since the what was it that they were sending the letters?
Ricin?
No,
anthrax.
Anthrax. Anthrax. They were sending anthrax to people who the federal government took steps to make sure that all of the letters that go to senators and congressmen and, you know,
they get checked
first. Yeah, they get sent through a processing center, and they're checked before they're open. And, you know, that
it's a statement. The whole thing has got to be a statement.
Well,
and it's obviously someone who is upset with government.
But why even attempt it? You know it's not going to make it there. These processing centers are going to pick it up before it gets into the hands.
It's simply a statement. Look what I did, and this is why I did it. And honestly, folks, this does not help our cause one bit. If it is somebody who ascribes the same beliefs that we here, that Adam and I do, I can't vouch for Phil, but if they ascribe to the same beliefs that we do, that they are awake and they know about the one world government, the New World Order agenda, the global elites, and they are trying to send a message, that's not helping, ladies and gentlemen. That is simply causing the ability for our federal government to crack down, tighten its leash, and further erode our civil liberties. Because when things like this happen, that's what happens. That ultimately ends up being the result, is we slip further into tyranny. And, you know, look at the revolutions that have taken place in other countries. That is exactly what happens. The minute you stand up and start fighting with violence, you push the regime or you push the government to take violent courses of action. Also, what is the point in hurting innocent civilians? These are the very people that we are trying to wake up. These are the people that we are trying to help. This makes no sense if it is right-wing extremism. It doesn't help the cause at all. And I gotta say, honestly, I don't know what it is. It definitely reeks of domestic terrorism. And we, you know, Adam and I are inherently suspicious of these events either way. So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, if you want to phone in, you want to talk about it, studio number is 802-861-WOMM, 802-861-9666. What else do we have in the news going on now?
Well, the Bitcoin that we've been following. Actually, it was you who told me about this. It took a dive. What was it, last week, right?
Yeah, took a giant leaping crash off a short cliff.
It almost got cut in half, didn't it? It was up to like, I think the last time we talked about it, which was last week, it was what, like 250, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 260 a coin, and then it dropped drastically. Maybe you can look that up, see how much the Bitcoin is worth today. Yeah, it was a bubble, as we predicted.
Well, it's not necessarily dead yet. I mean, it's not over. I mean, people can still buy Bitcoin if they want to.
Yeah, but the people that did invest in Bitcoin took a huge loss.
That's only well, yeah, in the short term. In the long term, I mean, who knows? You know, the Bitcoin might go back up. You know. But anyways,
it could. It possibly could. And I'm not saying that it won't. I'm just saying it crashed.
Right now it's 63, about $63, and the high is like 102. So yeah, pretty much like 60-65% loss.
Yeah. You got to be careful when it comes to currency like that, because it's not always it's not reliable. There's nothing backing the Bitcoin really. It's just whatever faith people want to put into it. Really, and some people were talking. Natural News was talking about it being a stress test. And if that was a stress test, then it probably failed, because that was a pretty big drop. Oh, we have a call coming in here. This could be Phil.
Hello? Hey Phil, how's it going?
All right, we got Phil on the line. Let's see if we can figure this thing out. Hey Phil, how's it going? Doing all right? Doing all right. What's going on in Montpelier?
I wanted to comment first on Bitcoin.
Okay.
Did you hear why Bitcoin had gone way up?
No.
The Winklevoss twins, who sued the founder of Facebook for a bunch of money,
Okay.
because they said that he cut them out of Facebook, got interested in Bitcoin, and so they started pouring tons of money into Bitcoin, and basically, artificially changed the market.
Right.
And what happened was they dumped some of theirs, I guess, and the whole thing collapsed.
Right.
So it's just a classic case of market power.
Yep, absolutely. It's market manipulation. It's exactly what used to happen in the stock market in the 20s.
Yeah, or it happened, in the home mortgage market.
Yeah, yep, that too.
All around here just a few years ago. So yeah, it's basically just a fake market. The interesting thing about that is that people who started Bitcoin said that it would be totally immune from that because of the way they had set it up. And of course, the first time somebody jumped in and started speculating, everything got screwed up.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that is that 85% of the energy futures trading is not by anybody who has any interest in actually owning or selling oil and gas.
Really?
Yeah, it's just people who are betting on whether it's going to go up or down.
Ah.
And so one of the reasons our costs are so high, I mean, for one thing, there's Bluebank, which artificially limits the market.
Right.
But then there's also the speculation, which is having a lot of influence in the market. Most of the market trading is just, people making a bet one way or the other. We don't really have a stable market. We have people betting against people who just want to buy and sell oil and gas.
Right.
That is, got people who
Oil and gas stocks.
who own an oil well and they want to sell it.
Yep.
And generally what they want is a stable price,
Right.
the highest they can get for a stable price.
Yeah.
And when you have speculators getting in the market, what happens is the guy who actually pumps the oil out of the ground gets a lesser share. And the money actually disappears somewhere in the middle of the chain. And the person who actually puts the gas in their vehicle gets a terrible price. I think they pay a high price.
Right. Because they're paying everybody else.
Because, yeah, but a huge chunk of that is speculative.
Right.
So, maybe the people who do all the work get even 2/3 of the price of their own oil.
Right.
Somewhere along the line. But then another third goes on to somebody who hasn't done any work at all.
Yeah.
But who is just
The middleman.
a computer program or a conspiracy.
Right.
Basically, that's one way, and then trying to make sure that happens the way they want. It's like a shell game, where the purpose of the shell game is to have this honest gambling thing of making spot of feed into the shell. It's all about, how you create that contest.
Right. So that you come out.
The game, but it's really just you taking their money.
Right. Giant Ponzi scheme.
So, anyway, that's what happens with Bitcoin, that's what happens with energy markets. We don't really have that many free markets, unfortunately.
No, they're all easily manipulated for sure.
Anyway, what's going on in Montpelier today, they're basically hacking up bills and arguing over the final budget question. That is, there are bills for them, and the Senate may have passed one side of it, and then the House is saying, well, that's not quite going to work. And so on. And then trying to get funded. So I sat in on the Senate Health and Welfare Committee today, and they were talking about, the first interesting thing is that the last Senate Appropriations Committee never went back and consulted health and welfare about appropriations. So the chair of appropriations didn't care what health and welfare thought.
Right.
Just, voted appropriations as or put appropriations as we thought appropriate or didn't thought appropriate.
Right.
So the good chair of the committee thinks that, health and welfare should be given some input as to the money that they decide to appropriate, exactly where it goes. So you back and ask health and welfare, okay, give us a priority list here. Right? You can't fund everything, that's the first thing to get done, that is not get funded.
Right.
I think that's the better one. And that was for those concerned about attention. Because on the one hand, the committee was appreciative of the fact that they had some input.
Right.
On the other hand, some of the cuts that have been proposed, they consider to be illegal, in particular from budgeting for the Department of Disability Education and Independent.
Okay.
That's talking about people who are pretty well treated, are marginally able to support themselves, and so one way or another, use the hand Like, the people who have mobility problems, and they have a hand in the house, and they take it from their home.
Yep.
Or, whatever is going to help people. So, the health and welfare is saying, well, some people's requirements that have a lot of frequency, and you can't do things to people.
Right.
And so they were trying to figure out how they could work strongly, because I think still one. The city just doesn't have to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So,
Policy.
yeah, so it's tiptoeing on eggshells at this point.
Yeah, you don't want to burn your bridges.
Right.
You want some reports to come across the either.
Right.
Do.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, does this encompass like monetary help, or like giving the disabled money, or is it specific to just providing them with nurses and things like that? Or was it unclear?
Talking about basically health care for like I think the most of it is talking about somebody will care about it. Sometimes they can't do everything in the house. And then pass the law to get back to the building for like help. And you can't just stop it. Yeah. Someone came up later in a different area, which was Reach Up is a job training program.
Yes.
And the basic idea is that if people get a certain passion, this is what they have to do. Following a set of rules which involve volunteering and training and work. And so the proposal is to have that in 5 years. And what people health and welfare is saying is, okay, you're just going to cut people loose. You've got to have a comprehensive plan or idea of what you're going to, what is going to happen to those people. You've got to figure that out. Because, the idea of helping them, they decided to get help, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why you're going to cut people loose, cut them off, why not do it early?
Right.
And not spend money.
And Reach Up is, I mean, it has a limit to how much they're going to give them, and it also has a limit on, you have to be out there looking for a job at the same time. So I mean, I think 5 years is actually pretty. I mean, how long does it take to train somebody?
Yeah, it's fairly generous in terms of that, although I think the issues are people are sometimes coming into the program with a lot of problems.
Right.
And sometimes people have problems with, say, disabled children or sick children, and so essentially they're still in the program.
Yeah.
But they're not really able to start resting it because they're dealing with other stuff at the time.
Absolutely.
Get over addiction or whatever reason. So they have to get here right now.
Right. And go ahead.
The other thing is just as a program, it starts out where you have to volunteer. And so you're not necessarily getting trained or training something that they're really, you don't end up getting the job in.
Right.
So if you're in an area like the Northeast people, it's work.
Yeah. Transportation could be an issue. And unfortunately with the state, when we do provide help for people, a lot of times what ends up happening is that the state will just cut you off completely, or they will take more than what you've actually gained from employment that you've gotten.
Yeah, and the good thing about reach out, yes, people have a pretty personalized position.
Right.
And they work, say, okay, that's a problem, what can we work around it? Child and, yeah, okay, you have technology, we're gonna have to help with something. It doesn't make you outside of that house. We want to make sure you get some time outside your home. And so, that's the sort of thing you need to deal with the kind of problem.
Yeah.
But at any rate, the thing is that they can, well, have to figure out what is going to happen, and that's the analysis. If that were possible, you never have to program the person.
Absolutely.
So, if they don't have to figure it out, then, there's nothing negative, positive, and the company will have to do anything to get that company.
Right.
That's really, I think, maybe we can decide that.
Yeah. Right. And I believe that it's commendable, and I believe that it's certainly a useful tool. It's just there needs to be, in my opinion, more focus on getting these people job training and things like that that will actually help them to succeed. You know, instead of teaching them how to fish for a minute and then handing them another fish, why not teach them how to fish to sustain themselves?
Yeah, the problem is on the fish, they have to go to the desert, you know.
Right.
Time.
Absolutely.
That's kind of a chicken and egg thing where, the problem is that there really isn't much in the way of jobs.
Right.
And you gotta be working on that at the same time, but then the jobs, everyone's like, well, there's no getting here, you can't work.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of, it's not easy to kind of prove that yourself.
Right.
And,
I think there's avenues in which you could offer corporations and companies incentives to train people.
reach up does that.
Right.
Reach up actually has, they have one job county.
Right.
Basically, that's the way what kind of jobs you have there at entry level, how does the company go? So that's why it's hard to so we need to do both ways to come in there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes.